What's up, guys? Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 331. Guys, this episode was really good. I really liked this episode a lot. So, the episode starts out with John in his room looking at the vial, just kind of like looking at it as he holds it up, thinking of his past when he had the full power of his ability. Clearly thinking, still kind of holding himself back, thinking like, I don't know if I should do this. Like, what if I haven't changed? Stuff like that. He's reflecting on all of his past mistakes, but he also thinks of what Sarah told him, that he wasn't a monster and that he made mistakes, but he can be a better person. And also telling him what his dad told him, that he can use his ability for good. One thing I will mention, which I brought up in the initial reaction, is that the panel that they use with William is not the correct panel for the line that he says. But that's honestly not too big of a deal. The flashback serves its point. But John then agrees with them that he is not the same person as he was before. And we get another shot, kind of like when Sarah broke John out of the barrier, of old John being shattered, the new Boston King. And I loved that. I loved of that bit again. But after that, John then takes the serum, saying that the Bureau will pay for what they've done to him. And again, this was a really nice John moment. It's kind of like the calm before the storm, I'll say. It's really interesting because of what happens next. Like, we get a moment of John, even in his pain, John having a moment of clarity. Just kind of like, I don't know, like, am I good enough? Can I still do it? But he has a moment of like, they were right. They were both right. They believed in me, so I will listen to them. And yeah, I just really liked that. I thought it was really nice. Then we see that John is meeting up with the trio, and they all begin working on condensing UnOrdinary to make it more like distributable out in the school. I'm standing with it that starting with literally distributing it from the school is a really, really bad idea. Just because it adds another piece of ammunition for the Bureau. But nonetheless, they begin working on it. John even mentions like we shouldn't condense and take out too many things, because that is kind of the point of the story. If we take out too much or the wrong parts, it could hurt us in the long run. And Remy and Black are kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. So glad to have you here, John. But Eisen even jokes to himself that it's a bit ironic, which I agree, that John is the UnOrdinary expert, since fairly recently things were a lot different. But what I do like about that moment, though, is that I feel like this is just another example of John at the beginning of the series. That wasn't fake. John always believed in the message that his dad said. He had a moment where he said he didn't, but no, I think it's very clear with this that William's story did mean a lot to John, even when he said it didn't. Even when he was in pain, and even when he was on a rampage, it still meant something to him, but he shoved it down to make it seem like it wasn't. So, just something that I thought. Anyway, the hours begin to pass by as everyone begins working together and talking things over about the book. Around 4:19 a.m., though, we see that John begins to sweat a bit, and we see his eyes start to glow. One thing I did notice is he is having a much less severe reaction to the serum, to the cure, than Sarah did. I'm thinking maybe this is because he had one in before. Maybe his body's built up some kind of antibody or something. But nonetheless, Sarah literally started choking out after what, an hour or two. John literally went a whole night, and like Sarah was just like gasping for air, and John just like, man, it's getting hot in here. Anyway, they finish up seemingly before school starts. Because the sun is out, and it is on a QR code that they're going to print out, and so that everyone can scan it. While the three begin talking about distributing the flyers, John falls down due to a sudden fever. As Remy and Blake check up on him, and John just kind of like, it's fine, I just need a little bit. I'll meet you guys at school in a bit. And Remy's just like, you should rest up. And Blake's like, yeah, and like, you should rest up. We'll take care of everything. Blake takes him to his room, tells him that, like I said, tells him that they're going to be they will pass out the flyers, but he needs to rest. So John does rest up for the day. Blake comes back after school with some food for John, and before he heads out, he also gives John his number. I do think that Uru has something planned, which is why she put that there, because that is definitely something that could have obviously been done off screen at this point. But I think Uru put that in for a reason, and I think we will see the fruits of that as a reason as to why it did occur really soon. Anyway, so yeah, what I do like about this scene, I like seeing John and Blake. I like seeing John and Blake be friends. They are friends at this point. Let's be honest. I've probably said that already, but I do like the moment of Blake looking after John and John letting Blake look after him. I mentioned in my reaction last time that I really liked the Remy scene in episode 330, and I really liked the Blake scene in this episode 331, and I was really hoping that 332 would include a scene with Ison and John, and unfortunately that doesn't happen. But maybe it still could at some point, because I think Ison has tried to help out John for a long time, and now that he actually is finally accepting that help, I wouldn't mind seeing a scene with that. And John and Blake have made amends. John and Remy have made amends. I also wouldn't mind seeing John, talk to Ison a little bit, be like, hey, Ison, I'm really sorry about how I treated you in the past. I'm sorry about beating you up all the time and doing all that. And I'm sure that at this point Ison is definitely not holding anything against John. Certainly not to the point that Blake was. Ison knew about John's past, and Ison realized John shouldn't be messed with. We just need to leave him alone. So, I think Ison would be like, dude, it's fine. Honestly, you've been through a lot. So, yeah. Anyway. But, yeah. I did really enjoy the scene. Anyway, the next day comes by, and everyone is interested in the flyers. They're interested in reading Untitled. We see a lot of grade out students talking about it. Everyone is interested in it and scanning the codes. And John also takes note of everyone taking the flyers and commenting that he didn't think it was going to be this popular, saying that the trio really does know how to get the word out, especially Ison. We do know that Ison is definitely really good at this stuff. But Zeke shows up and tears up a flyer a student has in their hand, and he says he can't wait for the day the Bureau shut the author up for good. This happens in front of John, and obviously John freaks out. John is overcome with emotion in the moment, activates his ability and tells Zeke Zeke, and just stares him down. And Zeke's like, what, you're gonna defend a bunch of safe house brats again? I don't care about you. I work for the Bureau. I'm just doing my job. John punches Zeke and knocks him back far. Not against the wall, but definitely farther than he has before without an ability copy, with which Zeke points out that it's more force than he normally has when he doesn't copy abilities. So our boy has some form of an upgrade? Anyway, Zeke takes note of that, but John also tells Zeke that he's the one who spread out the flyers and tells him to let anyone at the Bureau come for him because he'll beat them all. Now, I do like seeing Zeke get his due. But spoiler alert, I am also, for episode 332, I am a little sad about this. I understand why. I totally understand why John is freaking out in this moment, because it's his dad's work, and someone said the worst possible thing, which is true. And, but this isn't who John wants to be. This is definitely a moment of Shadow King John, of New Boston John. And it's rough to see John have this moment after he's worked so hard. Now, I definitely think that John, after a bit, John will learn to calm himself down. But I do definitely think, John is constantly on thin ice, unfortunately, because of the past he's put himself in. But, it's all good. Because I'm sure by the end of UnOrdinary, John will be someone that he can be proud of, and that both of his parents would be proud of. But that'll be it for this review and discussion. John obviously has some form of an upgrade, which I've been saying is probably coming for a while. Now, I am curious as to how this happened. I do think this could still be linked to him having 2 of Doc's serums in his blood, or in his DNA right now, in his body. So I am thinking the first serum didn't do anything, but maybe the second serum has given him some kind of upgrade. I am also curious, like I mentioned with Sarah, I am curious if this is actually a cure or if there will be some drawbacks in the future. I am also curious if we're going off of the logic that John has 2 of the serums in him right now, will there be repercussions of him since he has an amped ability right now, or to some extent, something like that. Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see how things play out. But overall, what did I give last week's episode? I give this week's episode 331, I gave it the same rating that I gave last week. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was an 8.5 or a 9. I think it was a 9, so we're going to go with 9. And if that's not right, it's the same score. It's the same score. Still a really good episode in my opinion. But that will be it for this review and discussion. Thank you all so much for watching, as always, guys. And we will see you back next time for episode 332's review and discussion, which is going to be out on time next week. So, as always, everyone, see you, Space Cowboy.